Do you mind telling us what mental health you went through?
So I'm running from depression and I have anxiety. So
Did you get any kind of help?
yeah, so I go to counselling and I have medication. So so that started in April. So I just come to the end of my first bit of counselling. So just now, well, recently. So
Is it working?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. So,
Mental health is still very much considered a very taboo
Yeah.
subject. What should be done now, or indeed the future, to help make it more, acceptable, so that it's part of the everyday?
I think just like talking about it, so talking about good mental health and bad mental health, because everyone has mental health. So it's just whether it's good or bad, in the same way that you talk about physical health, being healthy or unhealthy. I think that would be a way of talking about it, and also like making it more accepted as well, because you don't have to be depressed or whatever to talk about mental health. I think if you talk about how you feel in society, so everyone's a bit more open about it, then I think that'll help people to stop them from getting worse in the first place. But
So on what platform?
On
would
what
that probably be
platform?
best? So would it be integrated into like a citizenship module or?
yeah, I think something like that. I think so. In terms of schools, I think you probably have to take something out of the citizenship curriculum, for example. But I think there are stuff to do that, and then to put that in. So I think, yeah, something like that.
Would you say, in a sense, that if that was done, further down the line, would it actually work, or would even more needed to be done than that, just one action?
I think probably initially more would be needed to be done, because if you're having more people talk and more people accept it and how they feel, then I think you are going to have more people wanting to get help, which then puts stress on the existing services. So you probably need to do something with them as well. So maybe that's funding or whatever. But I think if, like, particularly on the NHS and stuff, I think the whole NHS is suffering with like funding at the moment. So I think perhaps if you put more money in it in general, then more money would go to mental health anyway. So rather than specifically on mental health.
Do you mind detailing how your mental health has, or indeed had, affected your everyday life?
So on my bad days, I able to get out of bed or get out of the house or whatever. So that was tough as well, because I thought no one cared. I didn't bother like socialising as well, so I felt lonely, and that kind of made things worse and stuff. And it is tough to be in that situation, because you can go from having a really good day and really good time to then just being, so in like a space of an hour you can be back down to feeling really low again. That is quite difficult to deal with. And as well, like, so when I was at school and stuff, that was difficult, because you can be in a group of friends or whatever and you can be fine and look fine, but inside you're not. So that was probably the worst bit for me. When I was at school and stuff, I was seeing people that were exactly like me, but they were coping with it fine and they were doing alright and they were happy and stuff, which made me feel like, well, guilty, I guess, at times, and that was tough. And I think as well, I focused on like really little things that were like blown up out of proportion. So if I were to go out and like meet someone or whatever, and they couldn't, that was like a massive thing. But it wasn't on them.
It was on you.
Yeah, so it was like my fault. But it wasn't. It was just a thing. It was just whatever happens. You know what I mean? Like, but I felt like everything was my fault. Everything bad that happened was my fault, and that was quite difficult to deal with. And then that lowered my self-esteem and stuff. Now it is getting better, and I think as well for me. So I didn't spend any more time by myself, but I felt more lonely because I was more insecure. But now I'm getting better again. I can spend time on myself and feel comfortable, which is the big difference for me. So I'm like an only child, so I'm used to being by myself, and I quite like that sense of self. But then when you don't have that sense of self and you're constantly looking for someone to talk to, then that's quite hard to deal with, and it puts you on edge. But as I say, yeah, now it's alright, it's getting better.
In terms of support network, because I know your mum and dad very
Yeah.
well, obviously, with us knowing each other
Yeah.
for years and years. Did you tell them, or did they know about it?
Not really. So like they knew about it because like school phoned home and stuff, but I didn't really talk to them about it really. So I had people in school that I talked to, so like the head of the year and people like that. And then and then with the counselling as well. So that was because when I was at school, so they were weekly. I was at school, so that was quite a nice little thing to like not look forward to, but have something every week definitely that I could talk about. So my mates as well, they were like, oh, they're really good with it and stuff. So if I'm having a bad day or whatever, they understand, and yeah, and that's really good. So
I know you said within school, but was that generally from say year 7 to 11, or was it more like post 16 with the era of stress and exams and stuff like that?
That was more post 16. So like I didn't really accept or acknowledge how I felt until about the end of year 12, really. So in year 13. That was more where I got the support because I was more open about it and stuff. And that was, so yeah, it was more then. So it was kind of up and down throughout that time. But yeah, it was alright. But as I say, it was mainly during sixth form.
Did you find ways to cope with that, that pressure and the stress of exams and stuff?
Yeah. So I just mainly just put on music. Music was my main thing, or I go out and play hockey or whatever. So it was more music. So my guitar got me through some tough times. But yeah, I think as well coping, because a lot of the time my mood fluctuated quite a lot. A lot of the time I just coped. I didn't know what I was doing, or I just got through it somehow. There's a lot of times when I was feeling rubbish, and then an hour later I was feeling good again, and like I didn't know why. It just kind of happened, and it kind of just up and down mood kind of thing. Yeah, so coping was mainly music and stuff.
Most importantly, how are you coping right now, as it were?
How am I coping right now?
Honestly,
I don't know. I probably look at the little things more in life, and I appreciate stuff. So I focus on the good things rather than the bad things now. Yeah. And I think that I try and have something I look forward to every day. Like, I work at a primary school, so that might be just going to work that day. That might be the only thing, because like I can feel bad when I'm there, but it's like I guess you have to put on this front. It is like a show kind of thing, because obviously the kids don't really so they are how they are, whatever. So how you're feeling, it doesn't matter. So they'll be playful or whatever, or like happy or whatever they're doing, which kind of is like kind of infectious as well. So if they're like playing or whatever, and they're like doing games or whatever, then it's like I have to join in, and it's quite nice to just have that different perspective on life, I guess, because it gives me.
If I'm thinking where I'm thinking, you would have that kind of support network of friends, of colleagues who now help you in a way, would you say?
Yeah, well, it's more my friends, but yeah, because I don't really, I'm there for I only do the before and after school stuff, so I don't see a lot of stuff so I don't really talk to them about it or about anything, to be honest. So they're alright, but there are still friends that are still quite close, because a lot of them are going to uni, but there are still some that are quite close which help. And it's nice because it's not just necessarily, so they often stop me from getting bad in the first place, so just by doing little things or whatever, which is good. So it's more like I get prevented from going as low as I was, rather than getting picked up all the time. It's stopped from going so low.
Those who are experiencing mental health, whatever it may be, what advice would you give to those that are essentially suffering in silence?
I'd say find someone to talk to at first. So that's not necessarily saying that I have depression, I have anxiety. It's just talking about how you feel at first, and then go from there, I guess. So there is different websites and helplines and stuff you can go to after that, but I'd say just find someone you trust and talk about how you feel, or what makes you feel the way that you are at the moment. So it's not necessarily I feel really depressed, it's just I feel a bit low today because of X, Y and Z. Don't feel the pressure to diagnose yourself, or don't feel the pressure that you can only talk if you have a serious problem, because I think you should just talk about it anyway, about how you're feeling and stuff. I guess after that, so like getting a doctor's appointment and stuff, it is difficult, and just like making that appointment, I find really difficult. So don't pressure yourself into getting one if you don't want one, but because there are different avenues to go down to get help. But I think the sooner you get help, the better, really, wherever that may be, whatever suits you, really, because I know some people prefer group sessions or to talk, whatever. Some people prefer like individual stuff. I now prefer just doing something totally random to make me feel better rather than a counselling session. So I might just go for a walk or I do whatever. But I think if you are suffering in silence, talk about how you're feeling and stuff, and that's how I started. Just make sure that you are expressing how you feel as honestly as you can. So if you don't know how to explain, say that you don't know how to explain, because I was in that stage, certainly, like I didn't know how to explain how I was feeling. I just was feeling so low, and at times it is really difficult, but there are things that can get you through, and if you need to get through, then just find something that means you want to carry on. And I think, because even at the time when I didn't want to carry on, there were a couple of things, a couple of people that made me, and that kept me going. So there are people out there, and there are things out there that can support you if you're struggling. So yeah.